In the suffocating pre-dawn darkness of August 7, 1942, at precisely 0212 hours, the first wave of United States Marines silently forged their way onto a stretch of sand destined for infamy, the beaches of Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands. Their packs were heavy with the era's standard issue firepower: the reliable M1 Garand, the relentless Browning automatic rifle, the iconic Thompson submachine gun. Yet, among these familiar instruments of war lay a silent, unexpected terror, poised to utterly dismantle the enemy's resolve. Concealed within the grasp of select Marines was the Winchester Model 12 shotgun, a pump-action marvel originally conceived for the thrill of the hunt, now transformed into one of the most brutally effective close-quarters combat tools ever unleashed in modern conflict. Japanese defenders on Guadalcanal had meticulously prepared for the methodical exchange of rifle fire across distances. They honed their skills ceaselessly for ferocious bayonet charges and close-in blade-to-blade duels, deeply convinced that their indomitable warrior spirit would effortlessly crush American troops in hand-to-hand combat. What they tragically failed to anticipate, however, was the raw, pulverizing force of American shotguns. These were weapons capable of unleashing a storm of projectiles as rapidly as a man's pumping arm could cycle the action. The Model 12's elegant mechanical simplicity, coupled with its devastating, wide pattern buckshot spread, would systematically unravel Japanese tactical dogma amidst the suffocating jungles, labyrinthine caves, and treacherous night battles of the Pacific War. The sheer statistics painted a chilling picture of its efficacy. Each shotgun shell disgorged 9.33 caliber pellets of double-aught buckshot. A Marine, wielding the Model 12 and firing a mere 6 rounds in 3 seconds, could unleash an astonishing 54 projectiles, utterly saturating an area with lethal firepower faster than any Japanese soldier could possibly conceive with their bolt-action Arisaka rifle. For the 200 Japanese troops holding Guadalcanal, this was an unknown nightmare, a weapon so profoundly destructive that even Germany had once furiously tried to outlaw it during World War I. Indeed, the Germans had lodged a formal diplomatic protest in 1918. Vehemently asserting that American shotguns violated the Hague Convention by inflicting unnecessary suffering. Their protest went so far as to threaten immediate execution for any captured U.S. soldier found carrying a shotgun. Unfazed, the United States defiantly dismissed the protest, issuing a stern warning of severe reprisals should a single American be executed for wielding the weapon. True to that warning, no Americans were ever executed, and the shotgun remained an unwavering fixture in the arsenal. By the time the cataclysm of World War II ignited, the Winchester Model 12 trench gun had been meticulously refined for military service. It boasted a truncated 20-inch barrel, a protective heat shield, a crucial bayonet lug, and, most critically, it retained its fearsome slam-fire capability. This meant a Marine could simply hold down the trigger and pump the action with frenetic speed, unleashing shell after shell in a near-continuous, terrifying roar of obliteration. For the Japanese, whose combat philosophy hinged on nocturnal skirmishes and ferocious close-in bayonet charges, this was the ultimate nightmare weapon. Japanese military manuals had previously stressed that American forces were inherently fragile in close combat, overly reliant on long-range firepower. Their doctrine glorified stealthy night infiltration, sudden, shocking assaults, and an unwavering conviction that spiritual superiority would inevitably triumph over Western might. Initial swift victories in China, Singapore, and the Philippines seemed to validate this profound belief. But the moment they encountered American Marines, armed with shotguns on Guadalcanal, those deeply held assumptions shattered into a million pieces. The true crucible arrived barely 2 weeks after the initial landing. During the brutal Battle of the Tanara River on August 21, 1942, Colonel Kiyonao Ichiki marshaled nearly 1,000 Japanese soldiers in a furious night assault across a desolate sandbar, his intent to utterly obliterate the Marine perimeter. It was the quintessential close-quarters engagement, precisely the kind of combat Japanese doctrine lauded. But awaiting them were determined Marines, fortified by machine guns, artillery, and lurking in the oppressive shadows, riflemen armed with shotguns. As the Japanese surged forward, they were met with an inferno of bullets, Marines poured torrents of fire from Garans and bars into the dense enemy masses. Yet, in the deadly, desperate close-range fighting along the riverbank, the Winchester Model 12 truly came into its own. At ranges of 20 yards or less, a single shotgun blast ripped through multiple attackers simultaneously. Marines, slam-firing their weapons, transformed them into rapid-fire cannons of pure destruction. When the first light of dawn mercifully broke, the sandbar lay horrifyingly littered with bodies. Of the 916 Japanese who commenced that fateful charge, nearly 800 lay dead. The shotgun's impact transcended mere killing power. It wielded a potent psychological weapon. In the inky blackness of the jungle, the distinctive, chilling sound of a pump-action cycling the sharp, metallic, chunk, sent profound shivers down the spines of Japanese infiltrators. Marines deployed the weapon in ways that conventional rifles simply couldn't replicate. On perilous night patrols, the shotgun became the indispensable companion of the pointman, delivering immediate, devastating firepower at the first whisper of an ambush. Within defensive perimeters, Marines silently loaded their shotguns, patiently awaiting in the darkness. When Japanese infiltrators crept silently towards their lines with glinting bayonets and primed grenades, a single, thunderous blast of buckshot instantly annihilated the attack. As the war relentlessly ground on into 1943 and 1944, the shotgun repeatedly proved its unparalleled worth. In the suffocating jungles of New Georgia, Marines specifically armed their point men with the Winchester Model 12 to preempt deadly ambushes. A solitary blast could pulverize a Japanese patrol before it even had a chance to retaliate. By night, shotgun-armed Marines were strategically positioned in overlapping fields of fire, effectively transforming infiltration attempts into suicidal charges. The weapon also became an invaluable tool for jungle lane shooting. Marines would unleash blasts down narrow trails or into thick vegetation where Japanese soldiers might be concealed, the wide spread of buckshot tearing through foliage and relentlessly finding hidden targets. But perhaps the most chilling application of the Model 12 emerged in the brutal, claustrophobic world of cave and bunker warfare. Beginning with the savage fight for Tarawa in November 1943 and reaching its horrific zenith at Iwo Jima in Okinawa, the Japanese had meticulously transformed entire islands into impregnable fortresses of rock, coral, and concrete. Marines were forced to endure agonizing crawls into subterranean caves, scale perilous ridges, and engage enemies entrenched in dark, labyrinthine chambers. Here, the shotgun reigned supreme. Marines innovatively developed the technique of skip shooting, firing into cave mouths, deliberately allowing the buckshot to ricochet wildly off the walls, creating a deadly, inescapable storm within the confined spaces. Survivors recounted the cacophony as utterly horrifying. Ricocheting pellets shrieked and whined from every direction, conjuring the terrifying illusion of death assailing them from all sides. Even when not instantly fatal, the sheer psychological terror frequently compelled Japanese soldiers to abandon their seemingly impregnable positions. On Saipan in July 1944, during the largest Japanese banzai charge of the entire war, thousands of Japanese soldiers hurled themselves with fanatical fury at American lines. While machine guns and artillery inflicted the bulk of the horrific casualties, the chaotic inferno of close-in fighting saw shotgun-armed Marines valiantly holding the line in moments of desperate extremity. Their ability to unleash torrents of lead into charging soldiers proved absolutely decisive in sectors where the enemy momentarily breached the defenses. On Iwo Jima, the shotgun became an integral part of the infamous blowtorch and corkscrew tactics. Flamethrowers provided searing fire and disorienting smoke. Meticulously placed demolition charges sealed tunnels, and shotguns delivered the final, devastating killing blow inside the fortified strongpoints. Marines even further refined skip shooting, deliberately banking buckshot off tunnel walls to ambush enemies lurking around corners. Despite its undeniable effectiveness, the Model 12 was never designed for mass issuance. Only approximately 61,000 units were produced throughout the war, a minuscule figure compared to the millions of rifles. Instead, they were strategically distributed to the units most likely to confront close-quarters brutality: Marine rifle companies, specialized Army assault teams, Navy landing parties, and even Air Force guards defending critical airfields. Ammunition, however, was in abundant supply. Millions of shells rolled off production lines, encompassing standard buckshot, potent solid slugs for extended ranges, and smaller shot for efficiently clearing dense vegetation. For the Marines who carried them, the Model 12 was often more than just a weapon. It was a personal choice, a symbol of confidence. While some naturally favored rifles, a significant number swore by the shotgun's unparalleled ability to dominate close combat. Veterans vividly recalled the profound sense of security it instilled in the dead of night, knowing that if the Japanese drew near, they possessed the ultimate, decisive weapon. The Japanese, for their part, never conceived of a truly effective counter. They experimented with crude body armor fashioned from wood or bamboo, but it proved cumbersome, awkward, and largely futile. Their only genuine defense lay in attempting to avoid close proximity, a stark contradiction to their entire combat doctrine, which inherently relied on close quarters assaults. The narrative of the Model 12 transcends mere hardware. It vividly embodies the quintessential American approach to warfare, pragmatic, incredibly adaptable, and utterly willing to harness any tool that delivered results. Where other armies rigidly adhered to outdated traditions, the U.S. Marines fearlessly embraced innovation. They didn't patiently await top-down doctrines. Instead, they experimented relentlessly in the field, rapidly assimilating what worked and swiftly disseminating those hard-won lessons. Techniques like skip shooting, the judicious mixing of ammunition loads, and the deployment of specialized shotgun assault teams were not conceived in sterile laboratories. They were forged in the crucible of the Pacific's unforgiving jungles and treacherous caves by Marines desperately fighting to survive. By the war's conclusion, the shotgun had etched out a fearsome and enduring reputation. It was never the primary weapon of the entire conflict, but in the unique, brutal environments of the Pacific theater, it proved utterly irreplaceable. In the pitch-black chaos of night fighting, the peril of jungle patrols, the visceral terror of bunker assaults, and the desperation of last stands, the Winchester Model 12 granted Marines and soldiers a weapon that decisively shattered Japanese tactical assumptions. Even in the aftermath of the war, its formidable legacy persisted. The Model 12 honorably served in Korea, where it once again demonstrated its prowess in nocturnal engagements. In Vietnam, shotguns were routinely issued to point men navigating dense jungles and became indispensable for the terrifying close quarters combat of tunnel fighting, eerily echoing its cave-clearing days of World War II. Its profound influence resonated forward into the design of modern military shotguns, and its core philosophy, overwhelming close-range firepower, can still be distinctly observed in formidable platforms like the A-10 Warthog and the AC-130 gunship. For the Japanese soldiers who stared down its barrel, the Model 12 was far more than just a weapon. It was a terrifying contradiction, an instrument that demolished everything they had implicitly believed. They had anticipated Western soldiers would falter and break in close combat. Instead, they found themselves mercilessly shredded by furious blasts of buckshot in the dark, suffocating jungle, or within the confines of their supposedly impenetrable caves. The shotgun, deceptively simple yet unequivocally devastating, proved beyond all doubt that American forces could adapt faster, innovate smarter, and fight with truly overwhelming firepower at every conceivable range.